Hi, it's Dr. John, and it's time for another episode of A Better You in a Minute or Two. And today we're going to be talking about something that I find really interesting. Hey, what's going on? You know I'm afraid of loud noises. What's up? He's mad at me for that egg crack I made in the last episode. Get it? Egg crack? I'm sorry. Go away, you silly chicken. Anyway, let me ask you a question. What are you afraid of? You know, it's interesting. We all have different fears, and yet we all come into life with exactly the same fears. That's right. Every human being enters life with two instinctive fears, a fear of falling and a fear of loud noise. All other fears that an individual acquires are learned, usually very early in life. Now, that doesn't mean that later in life you can't learn to be afraid of something, but most of your basic fears are learned in the first 8 years of life. That's when we're being sort of programmed for the people we're going to be. Now, fear in itself is a natural defense mechanism. Mother Nature gave us the fear response to keep us safe. As we grow, as we enter our environment, we figure out what's dangerous and what's not, and we learn to be afraid of the things that could hurt us. That's natural and normal. But sometimes we can learn to fear something that really isn't dangerous at all, or very little danger is involved. And sometimes that fear response can be so intense, it's actually crippling. And those fears we call phobias. Phobias are irrational fears where the reaction is so out of proportion to the actual risk, and it can actually, as I said, be crippling, full-blown panic attacks. Now, there are as many kinds of phobias as there are people. If you can think of an activity or an object, someone's got a phobia about it. In fact, in the United States alone, there are almost 20 million people that suffer from one phobia or another. Now, there are some very common phobias, the ones that a lot of people know about and the ones that I see most of the time. And I've got a list of them here. I'm going to read them off to you. First of all, one of the most popular, arachnophobia, a fear of spiders. Then there's ophidiophobia, a fear of snakes. Two very innocent creatures for the most part. They get a lot of bad rep. Then we have acrophobia, a fear of heights. Aerophobia, a fear of flying. I can't tell you, as a former airline pilot, I know that flying in a modern jet airliner is absolutely the safest form of travel ever invented. And you know what? The people with that phobia know that too. It doesn't matter. It's irrational. And we have more. Cynophobia, a fear of dogs, those cute little guys, little puppies. Astrophobia, fear of lightning and thunder. Trypanophobia, this is one that I am very familiar with. I suffered from trypanophobia most of my life. That's a fear of needles and injections. I used to break into a cold sweat, almost faint, if I had to even have a blood test or a booster shot. Then we have social phobia, or what we also call social anxiety, a fear of interacting with people. What a shame. Then there's agoraphobia, feeling that you're going to be out of control, very often in wide open spaces. And its opposite, claustrophobia, fearing that you're out of control in very enclosed spaces. Mysophobia, an irrational fear of germs. And then one of my favorites, and I didn't know this existed until I did research for this episode, electorophobia, which is a fear of chickens. Yes, people could actually be afraid of you. Who could be afraid of this guy? Well, like I said, if it's out there, someone's got a phobia about it. Now, the very good news about phobias is that they are very treatable, and there are a lot of ways of doing it. From exposure therapy, which can be very unpleasant because you have to face your fear face on in real life. I don't necessarily recommend it, although it can work. To cognitive behavioral therapy, and my favorite, hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, and of course, my synthesis process. I have worked with hundreds of phobia clients over the year, and across the range, I had one person with a phobia of pickles, if you can believe that. I know it sounds weird unless one of you out there has it, but it doesn't really matter what the phobia is. Because it's irrational, it's usually very easily treated. And because they live in the subconscious mind, a technique or a method that works at the subconscious level is often very effective. And it's so much fun to watch somebody who's been suffering, not that they're suffering, but who's been suffering all of their lives. In 1 or 2 or 3 sessions, they're over it. They're on that airplane. They're driving on the freeway. They're in the chicken coop. or they're going to the doctor or the dentist or whatever it was that was holding them back and crippling them. I love treating phobias. So if you or someone you know has one of those horrible things, give me a call and we can chat about it. I can either point you in the right direction or maybe even help you get over it myself. At any rate, it's not worth living life in fear. It's much too precious a gift, particularly a phobia that's holding you back. Because remember, this is all about a better you. So until next time, live fearlessly.